help us too, get all the Willis clan out here, and we're going to sing happy birthday to the Grand Ole Opry, okay? You sing with us, all right? Happy birthday.
Well, doesn't that just make you want to sing along tonight? But I won't do that to you at home. I would let you all do it in a heartbeat. But what a wonderful tribute to the Opry, singing happy birthday to celebrate 90 years. Wonderful Willis family right alongside you.
It was so great to have the Willis clan there because they are such incredibly talented and sweet young kids. And you know, as I didn't get a chance to say because it started raining and it was turned very cold, but to be, you know, we're all facing handing the torch, passing the torch down from the Opry, and to know we've got young people like that we're handing the torch to, that's going to carry the Grand Ole Opry into yet another decade.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
And there's so many of the Willis clan that we don't have to pass it to too many other people. I mean, there's the whole crew right there.
Absolutely.
You are right. Thank
and
you.
I plan to stick around and watch them carry it into the 100th anniversary.
There you go.
They'll be here, aren't you, John?
I'm going to try.
Yeah.
We are talking about the Grand Ole Opry tonight. If you are just joining us, thank you for being with us here on Open Line. We're taking your calls about your favorite moments and memories. I am joined right now by Jeannie Seeley, John Conley, two wonderful and longtime members of the Grand Ole Opry. And let's go ahead and take a call real quick. I'd love to talk to Jay. Jay, thank you for being with us. What's your favorite moment or memory of the Grand Ole Opry?
Well, first of all, I just want to say it's an honor to talk to these two legends. I'm a 40-year-old guy who grew up on Mr. John's music, listening to him in the hayfield, and my dad, we wore up some cassette tapes listening to him. So
there you go.
That's great.
Thank you, sir.
My favorite memory was probably my grandmother. We took her for the first time, and she got to meet Jim Ed Brown, and she started hyperventilating. It was so funny. And also, I was about 15 years old, and I got to meet Lori Morgan, and I started hyperventilating.
I guess this hyperventilating happens a lot at the Opry.
It does, absolutely. Right.
Yes, sir. But I just want to say thanks for everything y'all done, and I love my traditional country. I keep it on 650 and listen to the oldies, and I just want to say thank y'all.
Thank you, sir.
Jay,
so much.
thank you so much
Appreciate
for calling in. It is good it's good to hear from people like that, isn't it?
It is.
Well, let's take one more call real quick here. Let's talk to, I do believe that Stacey is on the line. Stacey, you with us tonight here on Open Line?
This is Stacey Harris. I'm celebrating my 45th year covering the Grand Ole Opry as a journalist, and so I have a flood of memories, most of which have occurred backstage, and as John and Jeannie will tell you, some of which you probably can't even talk about. But one of my memories of John is very early on when he had rose-colored glasses, and just being back there and seeing the smiles on people's faces when he would give them the glasses, which I guess he'll tell you a little bit more about that. And then with Jeannie, when I came to Nashville, I really didn't know very much about country music, and yet I was I was a reporter, and I was asking questions. And one of my first interviews was with Jeannie and Jack Green, and they were both so kind to me, and I'm sure that they were thinking as I was asking my question, well, it's about the 400th time I've heard that question, and I tried to do my homework, but you didn't have the internet back then, and so I was just doing the best I can. And some of my memories are of things that are just people backstage that you would never expect. I ran into William Shatner one night, and then another night, Anson Williams, the star of Happy Days. And then there was another night back when Dorothy Ritter was the Grand Ole Opry's Goodwill Ambassador. She introduced me to Robert Novak of the Evans Novak columnist team. So there were a lot of things like that, and I wouldn't call this a happy memory, but I interviewed String Bean one evening between shows, and I was actually there to interview somebody else, and it didn't work out, and I interviewed him, and I went home, went to bed, turned on the news the next morning. I'm a news junkie. I was watching Face the Nation or whatever, and you saw they didn't interrupt news programs in those days unless the President of the United States was killed, but sure enough, there was a crawl, and it said Grand Ole Opry entertainer String Bean has been killed, and I said, that is impossible. I just spoke with him within the last 8 hours. So I had the last interview with String Bean, and it would have been a very mundane interview because it was at the time when the Grand Ole Opry was in the process of moving from the Ryman to its present location. So I was asking a lot of mundane questions, and String Bean was telling me about how, I was getting mundane answers, right? He was talking about how he was going to enjoy having a place. He didn't drive, but his wife did, and they would have a parking spot at the new location, and it would be air conditioned, and all these things basically that he never lived to see.
Wow. Stacey, thanks so much for calling and giving us a little color behind the scenes. We appreciate hearing from you, and let's talk about behind the scenes a little bit. What happens backstage? Can you divulge a little bit?
Well, let me real quick say thank you to Stacey, because she's been a great supporter of all of us and has written, she may call them mundane things, but she's done some incredible journalistic work for all of us. Thank you, Stacey. About what happens backstage. I think I'll defer to the gentleman first.
Jeannie has all the hot stories. When we're at the big house, is what we call the Grand Ole Opry House, as opposed to the Ryman. There's a lot more room backstage there, and you can walk up and down the halls. And one of the neat things about being at the big house is somebody, usually the bluegrass folks, are rehearsing, warming up, and in some cases is doing a concert until they go on. Mike Snyder's real good about that. He plays and plays and plays, and whereas at the Ryman we don't get to. There's just not enough room. Everything's so spread out. And to another point, you talking about the history of the Opry, and the Ryman has a great display that's in force right now. When you take a tour at the Ryman, you get to see those decades in pictures, and they have a great film, a holographic film that I highly recommend. Amazing. That you need to see. In fact, we all got to see it in preview, and we need to. I've got to go back and see it 2 or 3 more times because you can't see everything with one view. And there are not as many wild stories backstage at the Grand Ole Opry as there was in past years before I was there.
Oh, I hardly believe this.
He settled everybody. And talking about going, we go back down to the Ryman every winter, and on the good side of that, because there's no room, we're all kind of sharing dressing rooms again, and it is a wonderful time because we catch up on families, and where we're spread out at the Opry House, you maybe don't catch up as much, but that kind of forces us to spend time together. It's like any other family. The more time you spend together, the better the relationship is between all of you, I think.
All except at Thanksgiving, and of course that's a whole other.
Then the gloves come off. Then the gloves come off. And Jeannie, I know it's important to you that you keep with the old, but you also work in the new, and that you celebrate both the old and new of country music.
I do. I'm so delighted because I think the worst thing that could possibly happen to me is to see the Opry go down in my lifetime. I certainly don't want to see that. So I embrace the new people coming in because they are the lifeblood. They are, and everybody brings, yes, things are different. They dress different, their music is a little different, but that's the way it's supposed to be. When we came in, we brought our own style of dress. We brought our own sound that we wanted, and that's just as it should be. So I'm very much in support of the new people coming in because I want to see the Grand Ole Opry stay like it is, which is one of the main forces in country music still.
And you know, when I left the night that we went to the Opry, I left and just thought, that is all just great country music. It didn't matter if it was old country or new country. It was just great country music and great fun to be there.
I've often said the Opry is unique too. When you think about it, I don't know of anything else, any other show where you would see 3 generations on the stage and 3 generations in the audience. That just doesn't happen.
No.
And I love the way the Opry moves so fast. If you don't particularly care for this particular style, well,
you're on to the next one quick.
Something else is about to happen.
Right. There's so much variety. And also, I think because of us put together, again, we spend time together, so we do get to know each other and show, and that way you appreciate things when you get to know them.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk to Betty. Let's hear about Betty's favorite moment or memory. That's our topic tonight with the Grand Ole Opry. Good evening, Betty. Thank you for being with us.
Good evening to you all. So glad to see y'all there tonight.
Thank you.
I'm from Kentucky, and don't get to the Opry too much anymore, but the last time I was there, Porter Wagner was there and on stage, and I got his picture when he held his jacket open and had high inside.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite memories. And I thought that was so cute. But anyway, I hope that the Opry is televised that night because the older people that can't get there would love to see it.
We would love for it to be back on TV live again. That would be wonderful. It's been a while since it has been, and you know, in this age of so many channels to choose from, there's no reason in the world why it can't be on. Exactly. You should be able to find somebody to put it on the air.
Yeah, I would think so too. But I thank you for remembering Porter Wagner. And again, I go back to the new people in the business. Porter Wagner hired me a month after I got it to Nashville to work his road show, and so Porter was very quick to pass that torch.
Absolutely.
Very pivotal in your career. I was reading that every label had turned you down, and then look what happened. Yeah. They were all wrong.
Well,
I can say it if you want.
Well, timing is everything, they say. Yeah, it was true. Every label had turned me down, and Hank Cochran, who had encouraged me to move to Nashville, and I'd met Hank in California, and he had said he would work with me if I would move to Nashville. And I was afraid to move to Nashville. I didn't think that I knew enough to come here yet. I was still learning, and Dottie West said Nashville's where you learn. So between all their encouragement, I came. So anyway, Hank finally took me back to Fred Foster, and he said, I want you to go in there, and he handed me a guitar, and he said, now sit here and sing till Fred signs you. And it was about 5:30 or 6 in the evening, so I've always wondered whether Fred finally heard something in my voice and me, or whether he just said sign her so I can go have dinner. And I've always been afraid to ask him, so I'm just going to leave that as it is.
Certainly we know the real answer there, I think. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to tell you about the Opry Trust, and a wonderful singer-songwriter, Kelly Lang, who has been touched by this, is going to join us and tell us her story. So stay with us.